What's up, guys? This is the Osmo.com Night Shift Podcast. Talking some MLB for Tuesday, July 31st. Big 14-game slate. Tons of options, actually. This is one of the better slates I've seen in a while. Pitching, hitting, stacking. It's going to be fun. Going to be tough to narrow down some of these options. We'll have content rolling out all day. I'll be on the strategy video alone again tomorrow. We will have the top stack percentage article by Osmo himself, ownership projections, of course, premium, the rankings premium as well, straight from Osmo's model, and then spotlight hitters, pitchers, stacks will be out tomorrow morning. Should be a pretty fun day, fun slate. I'm excited to talk about it. As always, just going to go through quickly, game by game. We'll have more in-depth analysis with your help in the chat tomorrow morning and during the live stream with myself and Chris Spags. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about the Cubs and Pirates, one of the least interesting games in my mind to start off. Lester and Jameson Taillon, neither of these guys I'm looking to target heavily. And there's also going to be some rain, so this one might not even play. It looks pretty rough right now. If it does play, there's still not much that I want to target. I could see going to David Freese or Jose Ozuna for value on DK against Lester, maybe Francisco Cervelli, but not much in terms of full stacks on either side. Taillon, 7,800. I think he's a little bit too expensive against this Cubs team. Just too scary for me to target against on a huge slate where there's a ton of options I like below Taillon. So that's probably enough on that game. We'll go Mets and Nationals. Another game that I'm not super pumped about. We'll get into the good ones soon enough. Steven Matz against Tanner Roark. Two pitchers that I rarely use. It's Roark's coming off that weird start. I think he had 11 strikeouts against the Brewers. And I haven't dug into him too much, but I'm just pulling his page up right now and seeing if anything jumped out to me about that start besides the 11 Ks. Yeah, it was 11 Ks in 8 innings. Wow, that's pretty incredible. 12% swinging strike rate. Nothing crazy as far as the swings or the O swing rate. The first pitch strike rate wasn't even high. So I'm going to go with that being more of a fluke than any sort of trend moving forward. Not that anyone's saying that it's a trend that Tanner Roark's going to get 11 strikeouts per game, but I don't see him all of a sudden becoming the guy that's going to strike out even a guy per inning, really. 20% K rate on the season for Roark, and still struggles against lefties. So Nimmo and Conforto are the two one-offs I like for the Mets, but that's about the extent of it. Matz on the other side, 6,900. He's going to get a lot of lefties, but I still like Rendon a ton. I like Trey Turner, and you can run on Matz. He's one of the few lefties that does struggle with base runners. Ryan Zimmerman, obviously huge power for 4K. Daniel Murphy, Bryce Harper, and Juan Soto can all hit lefties, so it's still a tough top 6. Michael Taylor, I like a lot if he can get on base here. That's going to be the question. Can he avoid striking out and get on base? Because if he can fly on the base pads and pick up a stolen base or two against Steven Matz, and he's going to be under 3% owned, I would guess. So I like this Nat stack. Lots of speed in Turner and Taylor. And so I think it sets up pretty well against Steven Matz, who is not someone I believe in. Baltimore and New York Yankees, Jeffrey Ramirez against Masahiro Tanaka. Ramirez is 5,300, Tanaka 10-3 on DraftKings. Both of these pitchers are interesting for me. Ramirez is 5,300 on DK. He's going up against the Yankees. Super, super tough spot. But 92 pitches thrown in his last start. He's getting swings and misses. He has some home run issues, as he showed in his last start. Gave up 3. But on the month, Ramirez ranks inside the top 20 in whiffs per swing rate. good swinging strike rate, all the stuff that I look for, over 13% actually on the season for swinging strikes. And 5,300, he's a righty. I like that a lot more against the Yankees because you're worried about Stanton, worried about Torres, Andujar, Romine. So a good amount of righties in this Yankees lineup. Super tough spot for Ramirez. I can't stress that enough. And if this total is 5.5 or 6, okay, maybe I'm going to be off Ramirez because there are a lot of other options around him. But I think he looks like a really good pitcher to me. So I want to use him at what I think is going to be no ownership. Tanaka on the other side, just someone that I really love playing. He's 10-3, 25% K rate is awesome. He himself has a near 14% swinging strike rate. Gets probably the best matchup that a righty could ask for. Going to get 8 righties. He's got the stuff to put away all of these hitters, so he could flirt with the top pitcher on the night. I don't think there's any doubt about it. It's going to be tough to beat out Trevor Bauer and Charlie Morton, but I think Tanaka certainly has 30-plus point upside in this spot. Philadelphia and Boston. We've got Jake Arrieta against Drew Pomeranz. Both these guys super cheap. Both these guys not going to be in play for me. Arrieta 6,200, just can't miss enough bats, and you can't do that going into Fenway. A little bit of wind blowing out. I love this Boston stack once again. There's just not much to say about them. They're an awesome team, and I think Arrieta is going to have trouble getting any of these guys out, especially those top 5 or 6. Pomeranz, we went over the lefties again, or Phillies team against lefties on the strategy video, if you tuned into that, but Pomeranz has not been impressive to me. Not missing a lot of bats himself, just a 7.4% swinging strike rate, subpar O swing rate. He's 5,900, so I guess you could make the case for him, but I don't really like him much, and I'm assuming he's going to get maybe like 10, 12, 15% ownership. I'm not sure who's going to emerge as the chalky option in this range, but one of these guys will, and if it's Pomeranz, I'm just not into that. I like Santana, Maikel Franco, and Rhys Hoskins against him. So just bats in that game for me. Cincinnati and Detroit, this is going to be another bats game. Homer Bailey against Matt Boyd. So neither pitcher is on the table for me, but Eugenio Suarez for 4,900 is certainly on the table. Adam Duvall for 3,800 I like. I wish there were some more power righties in this Reds lineup because I would just full-on stack them. I'm still going to have a bunch of Reds, but not as many as I would like if there were a couple other teams where they were more righty-heavy. But I still don't mind Votto and Jeanette against Matt Boyd either. So I'll have some. I'll probably be over the field on the Reds. I don't expect them to be very chalky, but Boyd is certainly someone I want to attack. Eugenio Suarez will be one of my highest-owned players on the slate, as he usually is against a lefty. Homer Bailey on the other side. He has really struggled with hard contact, can't strike guys out, and that's a pretty bad combo. Detroit is certainly not a good team, but Candelario and Nick Castellanos and even Goodrum all grade out really well for me. Didn't even mention my boy Leonis Martin. Been a little bit colder on him as of late, but for the season, a 114 WRC plus, 350 on base percentage against righties, 42% hard contact. I think that Detroit certainly has some value against Homer Bailey and this Reds bullpen. Angels and Rays, Tyler Skaggs against, I believe it's going to be Ryan Stanek. I'm not sure who's coming in after him, but the Rays pitchers on this big of a slate usually just going to be in a void, especially against the Angels, who there aren't really that many strikeouts here anyways. So this game is really Trout, Ohtani, and that is about it. I don't love Skaggs here. A lot of righties in this Rays lineup, Not that he can't get righties out, but he is 11-3. You're more paying for the park than anything, and you're going to need a big score. I much prefer Tanaka or going up 2,000 more to Trevor Bauer. So it's just going to be tough for me to get to Skaggs. This game is kind of off of my radar besides those couple Angels hitters that we know are fantastic. Miami and Atlanta, Dan Straley against Colby Allard. First time I heard that guy's name was about an hour ago when I started looking into some of this stuff. So Straley, 6,100. Not going to him. This is a really nice Freddie Freeman spot, and Nick Markakis, and Ozzie Albies, actually. So I love all these guys against Straley. He's giving up some of the most hard contact to lefties on the season. Line drive rate way up. I think he's been pretty lucky, and I'm hoping this is the spot where he regresses because Atlanta is one of my favorite stacks, especially 2, 3, and 4 against Dan Straley. Colby Allard on the other side, 6,300, making his first start of the season. I think it's his MLB debut, if I'm not mistaken. I should have checked on that. He looks like a pretty solid pitcher. Yeah, it is his MLB debut. Okay, I didn't want to say that and it not be true, but so it's always tough to try to analyze these guys as they're coming up. You never know how they're going to perform in their first couple starts with nerves and all of that. And it's just tough to predict baseball, too. So I have him being an okay value at 6,300. He's a minus 168 favorite, which is pretty sizable for your first major league start. I know it's the Marlins. I like Brian Anderson for 4,200, but the rest of the Marlins hitters I'm not really excited to play. So that makes me want to at least look more into Colby Allard. He looks like he can miss some bats. The swings and misses have been there for the most part in the minors. He's fully stretched out, so he's got some things going for him for sure. Cleveland and Minnesota. Trevor Bauer, the GOAT, against Kyle Gibson. Bauer is 13-3, just keeps rolling. Had that one bad start, and I guess it wasn't even bad. It was a fine start, just a shorter one in Texas. Strikeouts have been there in each of his last, what seems like 50 starts. I mean, basically every time he's gone out there, he's gone 100 pitches, got you 7 or 8 strikeouts, and he's given the team the chance to win the game. And 13-3 here. I mean, I don't love righties against the Twins, but Bauer sort of transcended matchups this year. He's been just incredible. So I'm going right back to him. He's my highest projected pitcher on the slate right now, and I don't expect that to change. Minnesota lost Escobar. Now they've got Sano in there. That is quite a big upgrade. And I just love Bauer. I love what I'm seeing out of him. He goes deep every start. 100-plus pitches, gets up to 115, 120 sometimes. That's just so valuable at this super high price range. So I have no issue paying for Bauer for 13-3. I think he should be chalky here, but he probably won't be because of how many options there are in the mid and low tiers. And there are a lot of great bats. Gibson, 8,700 for him. Another tough spot for Gibson, but he just went into Boston and had a really nice start. So we're starting to see some really good things from Gibson. I don't think that I could get to playing him, but I will say, maybe I shouldn't say I don't think I can get to playing him. If he's going to be completely unowned, I will have some Gibson, so I guess I'll be technically overweight on him, but I don't plan on having more than 5, 6, 7%, something like that. Cleveland is not as good on the road, just a 93 WRC plus against righties on the road this year. They get on base at just over 300, which is one of the worst rates in the MLB. It's bottom 6. They strike out more, so there are some things going for Gibson. I just wish he was a little cheaper. So super contrarian option is Kyle Gibson, but there's a lot of good pitching. I've already mentioned 6 or 7 guys that I like. So maybe Gibson. He won't be a staple of my lineups, I'll say that. But neither will the Cleveland bats. KC and Chicago, the White Sox, we've got Danny Duffy going up against James Shields. I am stacking some White Sox here against Danny Duffy. I mean, he had a nice little stretch going there. 38% hard contact against righties, over 5 xFIP against them, tons of fly balls. Now going into Chicago against Avisail Garcia, Jose Abreu, Matt Davidson. I love all of those guys in this spot against Duffy. And even Tim Anderson, especially if he's leading off for 4,100. White Sox are hopefully going to be a sneaky little stack against Duffy in that KC bullpen. Shields on the other side, 6K for him. Man, if there were less options in this slate, I would probably have Shields as one of my favorites in this, like on a normal slate where there weren't 6 guys that I like in the 6K range. Over the last month, or in the month of July, Shields ranks, let's see where he's at, 24th in whiffs per swing rate in his 5 starts. That is pretty impressive for a guy that people think is dead. And Kansas City is one of the best matchups in the MLB for righties, for lefties, for anyone. Just very little pop. They traded away Moustakas. And Shields is not as bad as people think. I've been saying that for a while. He's had some good starts, some high strikeout starts, and I think this could be one of them. So for 6K, he's not going to get excluded from my player pool. I'm going to have some Shields, and it's going to depend on ownership. I wonder if he even gets some steam now that he started. Actually, no, there's no way he's going to get steam because he just got lit up by the Angels, but he did have a 19% swinging strike rate in that game. So missing bats, and if you're doing that against Kansas City, no matter who you are, you've got a chance at success. Colorado and St. Louis, John Gray and Jack Flaherty. Gray 9,600, Flaherty 9,400. I like John Gray, but this is not a great price for him at 9,600, and that's my issue. There's a lot of righties in the lineup. He could get strikeouts, and I'm not going to be heavy on the St. Louis bats at all, but I'm also not going to be super heavy on Gray for 9,600. Much prefer Tanaka. On the other side, Jack Flaherty, 9,400. He's a guy I could see myself playing a decent amount of. I think I like him as the pivot to Masahiro Tanaka for $900 cheaper. Flaherty against righties this year, 35% K rate, giving up some hard contact, but a 285 xFIP. I think Flaherty is pretty good, and I think he will go somewhat under-owned on this slate. 3.7 run total for the for the Rockies, and those numbers against righties look really awesome. He's going to get 6 of them, including John Gray, according to the projected lineup. Consider me in on some Jack Flaherty on this slate. Texas and the Diamondbacks. There we go. Bartolo Colon and Zach Godley. Another pitcher that's one of my favorites. Colon, I'm not talking about Bartolo Colon, is one of my favorites, by the way. Colon is 4,500 on DK. Just expecting him to get bombed here once again. David Peralta looks like a fantastic play to me if he's in, but Goldschmidt, Pollock, Eduardo Escobar, new addition for 4,700. Yeah, it's Bartolo. I mean, I'm expecting him to give up a lot of runs here in Arizona. So, great analysis there by me. Stack against Bartolo Colon. You're going to hear that every single place that you look tomorrow or tonight, if there's content out tonight at other sites. Godley, 7,200. Going up against Texas, there are a ton of strikeouts in Texas. Godley's missing a lot of bats. He's giving up some runs, but this is a team where I can just see him going in and mowing them down. Don't expect him to go past 6, but he could get 7 or 8 strikeouts in that time, and that's the appeal of Godley at 7,200. So I'm in on Godley once again. I like that there's an under 4 total for Texas here. And I like what I'm seeing as far as the K rates for some of these guys like Chirinos, Carlos Tochi, Gallo, we know, Odor, Shin-Soo Choo. There's just a lot of strikeouts to be had if Godley has even his B game in this spot. Toronto and Oakland, Sam Gaviglio against Trevor Cahill. Gaviglio 5,600, Cahill 7,400, a near 5-run total for Oakland already, and I like some Oakland bats, especially the lefties. Lowry and Olsen stick out to me as awesome plays, and then Gaviglio he's got some walk issues as well, so when he puts guys on, I'm assuming we're going to see Marcus Semien lead off. Obviously can't confirm that this far away from the game. And I wish the A's had a little bit more speed, but if they put some speed up top, I think that's a good idea against Sam Gaviglio. And that's why you'd want Semien in there, 10 stolen bases for him this year. That would be a nice addition to the stack at only 3,700 with these power guys, Lowry, Olsen I mentioned, but Chapman and Davis as well. So Oakland, one of my favorite stacks on the night, even though it's not a perfect hitting environment. Cahill, 7,400. Love him here. It doesn't take much for me to love playing Cahill, especially for 7,400. Just a Toronto team that is pretty lackluster, in my opinion. 4 righties at the bottom of the order. If they roll out Teoscar, Russell Martin, Aledmus Diaz, and Brandon Drury, then that's even better for Cahill. I think he could get into a rhythm if he can navigate the top of the order, and the swinging strikes are there for Cahill. He's going to give up hard hits, but as I said, this hitting environment is not ideal. So I'm going to advantage Cahill here. 7,400 is too cheap for him, and I will have a lot of him. He might be my highest exposed pitcher on the night. Houston and Seattle. We've got Charlie Morton going up against Mike Leake. Morton for 11-1, Mike Leake for 5,700. This game is not super interesting to me either. I can make the case for Morton for 11-1. I think I prefer him over Tyler Skaggs, who is 11-3. But tough strikeout matchup going into Seattle. You've got Span, Gordon, Segura up top. That's just not an easy trio to start up against, all guys with sub 15% K rates. And if Morton can't get into a groove with strikeouts, I can see him running into a little bit of trouble here. Leake is Mike Leake. He's had reverse splits in the past. 37% hard hit rate against both sides on the season. His chase rate is very good. That's how he gets by, gets people to swing at bad pitches. Not necessarily miss bats, like with swinging strikes or any of that, but just good enough to get by. I will say, though, I like Bregman a lot for 4,700 now that his price has come down. I like Gaddis for 4K in this spot, and Gurriel for 3,700. So Astros mini stack is on my radar. Leak is not going to be someone I'll have exposure to. Last game of the night, Milwaukee and LA, the Dodgers. Wade Miley for 5,500. Walker Buehler, 8,500. Miley's someone I used in his last start, and I won't be going back there. I'm assuming we're going to see relatively low ownership on the Dodgers, being it's a 14-game slate, and there are some other more obvious spots. You've got the Yankees, who I'm not really on, but like the Nationals, you've got the Red Sox, the Reds, Tigers game, the White Sox, who else? The Braves. I think that the Dodgers could go once again under-owned, and anytime they're under-owned against either hand, as long as they're rolling out their correct lineup with Kike in here, Chris Taylor leading off, and Matt Kemp, and Puig, then I'm in. Anytime they're going to be low-owned, this lineup is really tough, especially for a pitcher that has trouble getting swings and misses like Wade Miley. 42% hard contact for him on the season. It's just going to be a tough go in my eyes for Wade Miley, so the Dodgers are going to be one of my heaviest exposed stacks. And then Buehler for 8,500. I think he's a fine option. not one of my favorites in this range. 8,500, he seems somewhat safe. Brewers with only a 3.5 run total, but he's just kind of a whatever play for me. I'm not crazy about Walker Buehler as a pitcher just yet. And then there are just a bunch of other guys that I think are better than him, just better straight up. I have projected for higher points like Cahill and Godley. I'd much rather go up to Flaherty, I think, than play Walker Buehler for 8,500. All right, that's going to do it. Tune into the MLB strategy video tomorrow morning with myself. It'll be live. We'll have the live stream before lock with myself and Chris Spags. The top stack percentage article from Osmo himself. If you're a premium subscriber, you'll get access to that. Ownership projections, rankings, all that good stuff. Spotlight hitters, pitchers, stacks. It'll all be there. So good luck on this slate and in your research. Hit me up on Twitter if you got questions, or just come into the chat tomorrow morning.